Hey everybody, welcome to Fireside Fridays. We're the new to bourbon guys. I'm Bill, this is Jennings, this is David. Tonight we're going to talk about something that is near and dear to our hearts, and that's how we got into bourbon. Jennings, what got you into it, bud?
You know, my father-in-law got me into this. It's all his fault, Buddy Lever. And we'd go on, trips with them, and we'd go to visit them on their RV site when they'd go RVing, and he'd always pour me something, and it was okay, but it's your father-in-law, right? So
yeah,
you drink it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, that kind of became something that I started to enjoy, and it was nice. It was fun to sit around with people and enjoy some bourbon. And then a buddy of mine, Alan Taylor, really furthered that for me. He really knew a lot about it, as he does with most stuff. And so we would sit around and drink bourbon and scotch and all that fun stuff, IPAs, and we used to brew beer together and all this fun stuff. And we'd sit around and drink bourbon and talk about it, right? And so he kind of furthered that, and it was nice to have something else to talk about than just the normal stuff, right? And that gets old after a while, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think once you get to the point where you're friends with people, you don't want to talk about work. No. We talk about our families. Obviously, we enjoy talking about that, but you want to have something to share,
absolutely,
especially with your friends, and have something to talk about that you can enjoy doing.
And it's so fun. We're all members of bourbon groups across different areas, and you go to these bourbon events with these people, and you don't know them. You don't know anything about them. You know their name, and you know they like bourbon, but you can sit there and you can talk to these people for hours.
Yeah.
Because you have that one common thing to talk about that you both are passionate about.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And it's a common thread. So I think, when we go to these bourbon events, we may start off talking about bourbon, but that doesn't mean that has to monopolize the entire conversation. I think there's something a lot deeper socially that happens within
Absolutely.
these groups where friendships form and you get to learn other things about somebody else, and the bourbon becomes a jumping off point. And it certainly is central to the existence of these groups, and is important, and we all love it and we want to talk about it, but it doesn't always have to be about that. But it's a great way to bring people together, to share bottles. We do these bottle shares, and it really does just help create a foundation where you can build friendships and just have a great time, honestly.
Yeah, that's great. So David, how'd you get into it?
Well, Jennings sort of got me into this.
He's the catalyst.
He really is.
Well,
I'm gonna blame Jennings on this one. I honestly, for a long time, I never really even enjoyed bourbon all that much, and I was a Scotch drinker. I really liked Scotch, but I had some really poor quality bourbons. I'm not really sure what it was, or maybe it just didn't hit me in the right way at the right time. But I just really didn't enjoy bourbon, and I would see Jennings on the weekends, and he'd be like, "Hey, have you had any of this?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm not really a bourbon guy. Just gonna drink my single malt over here." And
I'd be like, "Hey man, you got to try this. Yeah. Just try a little bit."
He pushed me into it, that peer pressure goes, and so he let me try some stuff, and I really realized that if you're drinking, if you try enough bourbons and find the things that you like, then there is something out there for everybody. And there were certainly several choices that were really kind of brought me in, and I was Old Fitzgerald was one that I was like, when I had that I was like, oh my gosh, this, like, I've never tasted bourbon.
He breaks out the good stuff to get you reeled in.
He does. It's sort of a bait and switch, isn't it? Not really.
That Old Fitzgerald was hard to beat.
But I remember that was one where I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been missing all my life.
Yeah, it was a 9-year-old Old Fitzgerald.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I think I'm in. I think I'm ready to do this, and so I just started experimenting, trying some different stuff. Again, some I liked, some I didn't like, but just got out there and started trying some stuff, and had a great time. Met lots of people through, again, we talked about those bourbon groups, and made some friends through those avenues, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's
Enjoy
great.
it. Yeah.
Well, so I'm going to blame it on Jennings too.
Man,
So
double whammy.
Yeah, that's it. So we're actually sitting at my house. We've been filming at our house, and we built this house a couple years ago, and we're pretty blessed about being able to live here and be out in the country here in Western North Carolina. Jennings and I have known each other a long time, and
Long time.
it's been quite a
It's
while.
20 years, 22 years.
Yeah, at least. And so we've known each other a long time. I was in visiting with him down in South Carolina at where he works, and we started talking about we were building a bar in our house, and we have you guys have seen maybe some of the videos already, and we've got a nice bar in the house, and Jennings starts talking about, man, you got to get into bourbon. I collect bourbon. I mean, you got to get into it. And as I told him, I'm a wine guy, always have been, and love red wines, love all the stuff about wine, and really enjoy it. And so I started. You told me to go to one of my local stores and see if they'll let you taste something. And so I started tasting a few things, and my wife started tasting a few things, and we kind of fell in love with it. And so we said, hey, we're going to start kind of collecting and sharing and kind of looking through it and figuring it out. And you guys were talking about the camaraderie and stuff with other people. I'm in sales and I travel a good bit. And the cool thing for me is that bourbon has become something that I've met people in Tennessee, and I've met people in Boston, and I've met people in Colorado and in Detroit that are all bourbon people. And for me, it gives me the ability to meet people and have a common thread that we have there with each other, and we can talk about bourbon, and we don't have to talk about business all the time. That's one of the things. I mean, we talk about business, we have to get through that piece of it, but having the ability to use and have the conversations around other things and get to know each other and really get to be friends with people that become my customers, or that people are potential customers of mine. I don't use it as some tool. I use it because I really enjoy getting to know them and getting to be friends with them.
That's right.
So for me, it really builds, that friend base for me, and the ability to, as much as I travel, to have people in other towns that I'm able to talk to and communicate with, and talk about bourbon and talk about what they picked up and what they hunted for and what they found. That's the cool thing for me.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
You have that luxury of being able to, or having to travel for work, but you have the luxury of being able to find some of these store picks that, individual stores do that, I don't go to a bunch of different places. I got my couple places I go and pick up things, and you've got a large laundry list of places you can go. Which makes it interesting because you always call me on the road. Hey man, they got this, and I'm like,
it's funny.
Get you one.
I start sending you pictures.
Constant.
Jennings always knows when I'm traveling, and I start firing pictures at him. It's, hey, this is what they've got in their special case, or they've got, I found this, or this is sitting on the shelf there. It's cool going to different cities and different states, because different states get different bottles. I mean, I've got a couple unicorn bottles that I really want to pick up that I haven't been able to pick up yet. I want to pick up King of Kentucky, and I want to get Old Carter. They don't sell them here, so it's not sold in our state. I know there are other people that have got 10 bottles of King of Kentucky sitting on their shelf, and it's like, it's a really special bottle, and I can't find it.
It's so funny that, everybody's journey in this bourbon world, it's all different. Everybody's got a different way they got into it. They have a different path once they get into it. They have different bourbons they like, and there's some bourbons that a lot of people like, and we tend to share those. But it's so funny to see these people that once they get into it, the bourbons that are out now are fantastic. But there's this smaller, even more specialized group of friends that are into these old bourbons.
Yeah.
And they go and they find them and they buy them, or they get them somehow. And
what about what we picked up? So Jennings tells me that one of the great things to do is find dusty bottles, find dusties. It's something that not everybody looks for, not everybody can find.
It's even harder to find.
It's even harder to find
than allocated.
Yeah. So I end up at an estate sale, okay, and they can't sell bourbon at estate sales, but they can sell collectibles. Well, this guy had some collectible bourbon, and they were in the ugliest decanters you can even imagine.
Oh, they were so bad.
They're so bad. But I picked up 4 bottles of 15-year-old Jim Beam.
from like 1964.
Well, they were distilled in 61.
61, that's right.
And bottled in 1976.
Wow.
I've got one of them in a decanter in my house. And it's the craziest thing. It had
So
this,
bizarre.
It had this funk to it. It was
Oh, yeah.
old. You
It's
could tell it
oily.
was oily and old. But man, it was good. It was delicious.
was really
It was
good.
delicious, man. But being able to find stuff like that that's what, while we do this, it's a lot of fun.
It is
but
a lot of fun, yeah.
So that's how we all got into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let us know how you got into it. If you want to leave that in the comments, or if you're just now starting to get into it, we'd love to have you, come along with us and hear about some of our experiences, and we'll keep you updated as we go. So.
Don't forget, drink and enjoy bourbon. Share bourbon. We're the New to Bourbon guys. Thanks for being here. Take care.